Alrighty, 3.6, solving system of equations with three variables. Okay, and the way we're going to do this is with using augmented matrices. Okay, so that's how we'll start here to figure out what an augmented matrices is. Now, what we're doing is we're going to take a matrix or a system of equations and put it into a matrix. Okay, now when we're doing this, we need to make sure that our x's, y's, z's, and our constants are all lined up. Okay, so in this case they are. And then from there, okay, so we got three equations, so it's like three rows, and then four different types of columns. One for x, one for y, one for z, one for our constants. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do our x column, so we're going to take the coefficients from our x. So 1x, 2x, 5x, so 1, 2, 5. For my y's, going down, 3, 1, -2. Okay, and our z's, we got -1, 1, and 3. Then I got a little dashed line there for our constants. So -11, 1, and 21. Okay, so right there is an augmented matrix. Now we're going to use these augmented matrices to help us solve for the system of equations. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to use something called RREF, or reduced row echelon form. Okay, so all you need to really remember is RREF. Okay, from there we're going to go to our calculator. Okay, so if I bring in the calculator here, we have this matrix. Okay, we can plug these matrices into the calculator. Now, on the iPad, there's a nice button there that just says matrix, kind of right by that alpha. Now, it's a little bit different when you have the calculators from in class, okay? But for in class, you hit second, and then if you see that x to the negative first, just 3 buttons down, there's matrix in blue, so second there, and it brings us to this menu here. Okay, now, in order to enter the matrix into your calculator, you go over to edit, and you just edit it. I went ahead and I entered all the matrices that we're going to deal with in this lesson today already. So just double checking, going from left to right: 1, 3, -1, -11, 2, 1, 1, 1, 5, -2, 3, 21. Okay, so I have my matrix entered in. Okay, whenever you do that, double check that you have the proper signs and the proper numbers in the proper place. One number off will throw everything off. Okay, so now once you have that entered in, okay, go back to the main menu, and we're going to go back into that matrix menu. Now we actually want to do something, so we're going to go over to the math, and we're going to do that RREF. Okay, so and then from there, oh, I didn't bring it in, RREF. And now we need to bring in that matrix that we entered into there. Okay, so I put it into matrix A. So under that names, matrix A, I want to find the reduced row echelon form of A, and we hit enter. Okay, and there we have it. Okay, it will give us a matrix where you get a diagonal of zeros. Okay, we call that the identity matrix, which is exactly what we want to get. So I got 2, -4, 1. Okay, now if you notice, okay, that first column, we said that was x, this was y, z, and then our numbers. So if you notice, okay, we got 1x, not 0y, 0z equals 2. So x equals 2, y equals -4 in that second line, and then z equals 1. Okay, so using that reduced row echelon form, it's helping us to solve for our variables. Now, don't stop there, because just like when we did a system of 2 equations, we wrote the answers as an ordered pair. When we do a system of 3 equations, we need to write it as an ordered triple. Okay, so x, y, z. Okay, so we need to write our answers as ordered triples. All right, so we go to this system of equations now. You notice that the first equation has all 3 variables, x, y, and z. But when you go to that second one, it's got just y and z. So again, we need to line up our variables. Okay, so really this is like 0x plus 5y plus minus z. Okay, so in the next one we got negative 3x, and there's no y. Okay, so that case we need to put in 0 for that y. So to help us out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite out this system of equations with every single variable. So the first one, we don't have to change anything there. 2x minus 2y plus z equals 3. Okay, but then it's 0x in the second equation plus 5y minus z equals negative 31. And then negative 3x plus 0y plus 2z equals 17. Now I have my x's, my y's, and my z's all lined up, and my constants. Okay, now I'm going to go write my augmented matrix. Okay, after you've done a few of these, you don't have to worry about doing that, but I would recommend doing that initially so you see that that coefficient with whatever missing variable is 0. Okay, so just going from left to right on that first equation, I got 2x, negative 2 for y, I got 1 for z, and then for my constant I have 3. Okay, and using that second equation, 0, 5, negative 1, negative 31, and third equation, okay, so there's our augmented matrix, again going to reduced row echelon form, so the RREF. Okay, so bringing in the calculator again. All right, so we go into that matrix menu again. Matrix menu, math, RREF. Okay, again, before you do this, you'd have to go into the calculator and enter that matrix in. Okay, so like I went in and I entered it into matrix 2 already, or matrix B. Okay, let's double check again. 2, negative 2, 1, 3, 0, 5, negative 1, negative 31, negative 3, 0, 2, and 17. Okay, so matrix B is the one I entered it into. So again, once you enter it, get out of there. We're going to go reduced row echelon form. That's where you go to matrix, math, and RREF. Okay, and then from there again, we need to bring in that matrix. I put it into matrix B, hit enter, and we should get that diagonal of 1s again. So 1, 0, 0. Okay, so we got our diagonal. And then it was negative 5, negative 6, 1. And again, x equals negative 5, y equals negative 6, z is equal to 1. But we need to write our answer as an ordered triple. So negative 5, negative 6, 1. Now, remember, when you're writing these, okay, we have that ordered triple now. Okay, that's x, y, and z. If we were to take those values and plug them into our equations, every time for all three equations, we should get a true statement. So that is a way to check your answer. So if you get time at the end of class or on test day, go plug those in, double check that you got the correct answer. All right, so now moving on, looking at word problems now, dealing with three equations. Okay, first one, a theater group sold a total of 440 tickets. So again, we're going to go through and highlight our important information, and they got $3,940 from those 440 tickets. Okay, so now think about those are totals. Okay, so we have two totals in that case. Now, each regular ticket cost $5. So regular was 5. Premium tickets cost 15. And finally, elite tickets cost 25. Now, that last sentence in these types of problems is going to give us that third equation. We're going to use what we have up to now for our first two, but now the number of regular tickets was 3 times the number of premium and elite tickets combined. Okay, so in the purple there, that's how we're going to get our third equation. Now, if you think about it, we need to set up those three equations, and we're going to get them from those two totals and that third one. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is that the first thing we always need to do when doing these problems is we need to define our variables, okay? And we're going to always get that from the actual question, okay? How many of each type of ticket were sold? Okay, we had 3 different types of tickets. Okay, we had regular, premium, and elite. So how many? We're talking about the number of regular tickets, which I defined as R. number of premium as P, and number of elite as E. Okay, so when we work with that first total now, that 440, that's the total number of tickets sold. So when we look at our variables, the number of tickets, okay, the number of regular plus the number of premium plus the number of elite, that's our total number of tickets. So that is my first equation, R plus P plus E, because that is the total number of tickets that we sold. Now, when we're talking about that 3,940, okay, that's another total. That's the total money they made. We got to think about how we'd get how much money they made from regular tickets. How much money did they get from premium and elite? So now if you think about it, they make $5 per regular ticket. You're going to take that $5 times the number of tickets they sold. Okay, and that's going to give you the money they made from those regular tickets. So right there, 5 times, and we said R is the number of regular tickets. We don't know how many they sold. Okay, so we represent it with that variable. Okay, so 5R, that's how much money they make with regular tickets. They're making $15 with the premium tickets, and then the 25 with the elite. Okay, so combining all 3 of the types of tickets to give us the total number or money they made for the whole theater. Okay, now again, that third equation's got to come from our purple highlighted there. So regular tickets was, so right when I see that, regular tickets was, I'm going to say R equals. Now, it was 3 times, so 3 times something, the number of premium and elite tickets combined. Okay, so we got to think about this though, because we're doing 3 times that combination of the two. So 3 times the quantity of P plus E. Okay, because we have to combine those before we multiply by that 3. Okay, now we have that system of equations. Now we're going to go to the augmented matrix. What's going to help though is if we put that last equation, because that last equation typically will look a little different than the other two. Let's get it so it's all on one side so we can line up our variables. So what I'm going to do, if we go over here, we got R is equal to 3P plus 3E. Let's get all of that to one side. So I'm going to move this to the left. So I'm going to have R minus 3P minus 3E, and then what's left on the right side is just 0. Okay, so that's the third equation we're going to use. Okay, so just going to write in our augmented matrix now. Okay, using that first equation, I got 1, 1, 1, 440. Okay, so remember, so now we got our R's, our P's, and our E's, and then the constants. Okay, so on that second equation, 5, 15, 25, and then 30,940. Okay, so I'm getting this line from the first equation, this one from this equation, and that last one I'm going to get from here. So if we look at the coefficients, 1, -3, -3, and then 0. Now we have our augmented matrix. We're going to go do the reduced row echelon form in our calculator. Okay, and I entered all these in there already, so I'm just going to double check that. I believe I put it into matrix C. Okay, so 1, 1, 1, 440, 5, 15, 25, 3,940, and then 1, -3, -3, 0. Okay, I actually, when I put that in there, okay, all I did was I moved the R to the other side, so it's -1, 3, 3. Either way works, okay? But now, once we do that, now we're going to go actually do some math with that matrix, RREF, of matrix C. So then again, we have to bring in that matrix, and then we'll get our reduced row echelon form. Okay, so in this case, again, you should always get that diagonal of 1s. And again, that's the identity matrix. Okay, so 330, 46, 64. Okay, so in this case, this was our regular tickets. This was our premium tickets. And this was our elite tickets. And again, with word problems, we always write a sentence for our our answer. So I went and I kind of just wrote a sentence out with some blanks. So theater group sold 330 regular tickets. They sold 46 premium, and then finally 64 elite. Okay, so there is our answer. Now, always to go back and double check, did we actually answer the question? How many of each type of ticket were sold? And we did. Okay, so another type of problem is investment problems. So you have $60,000 to invest. That's probably pretty important. You want to invest in money stocks, your money in stocks, bonds, and money market funds. Okay, yielding 12%, 8%, and 5% respectively. Now, when I say that, okay, so stocks came first, so that was 12%. Bonds came 8%. Money market fund was 5%. Okay, you want to invest the same amount in stocks as in bonds and money markets combined. Your goal is to make $5,400. How much should you invest in each fund? Okay, so how much should you invest in each fund? There it tells us our variable, the money in each type of fund. So stocks, bonds, and money markets. So I got S as stocks, B as bonds, and M as money markets. So now we also have another total in there. We want to make a total of $5,400, and then finally we're going to get that last equation from this sentence here. Okay, but now if you think about it, let's look at that first total. We're investing a total of $60,000. Okay, so that total would be a combination of the money we put in stocks, bonds, and money markets. We don't know that specifically yet, but we do have a way to represent it with S, B, and M. So combining those three variables to get that $60,000. Now, we want to make $5,400. Okay, so on those stocks, we're making 12%. Okay, so however much money we make from that is based off that 12%. So 12% again now, if we write 12% is 0.12. Okay, if you put 12 in there, that is completely different. Okay, so make sure you're writing your percents properly. So we're going to take 12% times the amount of money we invested in stocks, and that's how much money we'll make in stocks. So then for the bonds, 0.08 times B, and then for the money market, 0.05 times M. Okay. Now, our last equation, these are typically the tricky ones, okay? You want to invest the same amount of money in stocks as in bonds and money markets combined. So I got to combine bonds and money markets, so B plus M, and I want that to be as the same as how much I invest in stocks. So rewriting that, if I can just bring it all to one side, I'm going to bring the B and M to the left. So that's going to be S minus B minus M equals 0. So now that we have our system, we can go ahead and we can create our augmented matrix. Just taking those coefficients again, so 0.12, 0.08, 0.05, and we're making $5,400. And then using this now, 1, -1, -1, and 0. Doing that reduced row echelon form. Okay, so I entered this into matrix D. Okay, so and then reduced row echelon form with very top there of our calculator, RREF of D. There we get our reduced row echelon form matrix. Have our diagonal of 1s. And then 30,000, 10,000, and then 20,000. Okay, and again, this is our stocks, bonds, 10,000, and our money market was 20,000. Okay, so looking at this, finishing it off with a sentence, we should invest $30,000 in stocks, $10,000 in bonds, and then finally 20,000 in money markets. Now, when you look at if you think about this answer, we're investing a total of $60,000. Okay, so between those three, that was $60,000. And then the other one I could typically look at is that last one. The money that we put in the stocks should be the bonds and money markets combined. So $30,000 does equal that 10,000 plus 20,000. Okay, that's a good indicator that we solved this problem correctly. Okay. And again, I'll just highlight this. Okay, there's when we make our augmented matrix, there's the first equation, there's the second equation, and then finally that third equation. Okay, last one then. Quilt maker plans to make 14 quilts this year. Okay, that's probably pretty important. That's a total, and use 113 yards of fabric, another total. Now, a small quilt requires 4 yards. A medium quilt requires 7, and then finally a large quilt requires 11 yards of fabric. She plans to make twice as many large quilts as small quilts. How many of each type of quilt should she make? So how many of each type? Number of small quilts, number of medium, number of large when we define our variables there. Okay, so looking at her totals then, I'm going to say she wants a total of 14 quilts made. Okay, so that would be a combination of the number of small quilts, medium, and large quilts. So in this case, small plus the medium plus the large will equal that 14. Now, we also have a total yards of fabric that she has. Okay, so if you think about it, like if she made one small quilt, she used 4 yards, 2 small quilts, 8 yards, 3, 12. Okay, so all you're doing is you're taking the number of yards it takes to make that specific quilt times the number of quilts she made. And again, we don't know the number yet, so we represent it with that S, or in this case, for mediums, it's 7 times M, then finally 11L. Okay, now the last equation is the one that's kind of tricky. She plans to make as many large quilts as small quilts. Okay, so a lot of people will say 2 times L equals S. But let's think about this. If she makes 10 large quilts, okay, she's making twice as many large quilts, meaning she would have to make 5 small. Okay, if we take that and we plug it into the equation that we just created, okay, 2 times 10 equals 5. That's not true. Okay, so these ones are actually kind of tricky. It does say twice as many large, but in this case, we're actually doing 2 times S equals L. Okay, so just do something like this, because it's easier to think if you actually think about a couple numbers, because I can see that 10 is twice as much as 5. Okay, but writing the equation is the hard part. Okay, so again, now helping us solve, I'm going to rewrite this equation so we have S, M, and L. Bringing that L over, so subtracting it, we're going to end up with 2S. We don't have any mediums. And then minus L. And then equals 0. Okay. So again, we're going to use this for our first row, second row, and our third row in our augmented matrix. So go ahead, and then 1, 1, 1, 14, 4, 7, 11, 113, then finally 2, 0, negative 1, 0. There's our augmented matrix. Plug it in, do a reduced row echelon form. Okay, so again, go into that matrix menu, we're going to edit. I plugged it into matrix E, 1, 1, 1, 14, 4, 7, 11, 1, 13, 2, 0, negative 1, 0. Okay, so I got my matrix. And now, quit. Okay, go back into that matrix menu. We're going to do some math with that matrix, RREF. It's not bringing it in. RREF of matrix E in this case. Okay, when you guys do this, you can just plug it into A every time. Since we had all 5 of these, I plugged them in right away. So in my case, I'm doing matrix E. We hit enter. We should get that identity matrix with the ones. And 5, 3, 5, 6. Okay, so smalls was 3, mediums was 5, larges were 6. Okay, so she made 3 small quilts, 5 medium, and 6 large. Now, again, kind of just doing a quick check. She made a total of 14, so 3 plus 5 plus 6, that's 14 total. She made twice as many large as small, so we're looking pretty good there. And then this one would be pretty easy to check in, so 4 times 3 plus 5 times 7 plus 6 times 11. Okay, that would end up being 113. So, we did, usually when you get 2 out of the 3, it's a good indicator that you did it properly. All right, so that was 3.6, a little bit longer video, but your homework for this lesson, word problem practice, okay, do that. If you need more practice with these, and we have that 3.6 book assignment, those can just be extra practice. Do that worksheet as your primary homework though. Again, that's just the word problem practice, okay? Other than that, make sure if you have any questions, let's get those asked. Other than that, have a good day.